Ma'am, please start.
Okay. A very good afternoon to one and all. Meet our expert of this session, Dr. Yogesh Khetra, sir. He is currently working as senior scientist at Dairy Technology Division, ICR, NDRI, Karnal. He obtained his bachelor degree in BTech Dairy Technology from Maharana Pratap University of Agriculture and Technology, Udaipur, and master's and PhD degree in Dairy Technology from ICR NDRI Karnal. He also did 1 year certificate program in dairy management from IRMA Anand, Gujarat. Dr. Khetra sir has 14 years of research and teaching experience in dairy processing. He has been involved in teaching several courses for graduate and postgraduate programs in dairy technology at NDRI Karnal. He has a specialization in working in the areas of cheese science and technology, dairy ingredients, and composite dairy foods. Dr. Khetra sir got several awards and fellowships to his credit during his academic and research career, including the University Bronze Medal at NDRI, Merit Awards, Best Teacher Award, and several Best Paper and Poster Awards at national and international conferences. He has also been awarded Associate Fellow of NATSE 2016. He has published more than 28 research and review papers in reputed international and national journals, 6 book chapters, and 9 technical or popular articles. He has handled many in-house and externally funded projects in various capacities. He has also handled projects in international collaboration, one with Department of Food Quality and Design, Wageningen University and Research, Netherlands, and another one with University of Copenhagen, Denmark. On the behalf of organizing team SCIDT Patna and NADCL Baramulla Jammu and Kashmir, I welcome you, sir, for the today's session on reducing sodium-based salt in foods. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you very much, sir. Now over to you, sir.
Thank you, Sonam, for the elaborative introduction. So my topic today is on reducing low sodium cheeses, but I will keep it on reducing sodium based salts in foods, and then we'll see the examples of how we can reduce sodium in cheese and what are the repercussions. So to start with, we'll try to answer very basic questions through this presentation, starting with why sodium is added in foods. So through this, we'll see what is the role of sodium in foods. And we'll also see what is the need to reduce sodium in food. So if we are adding sodium in food, then there must be some reason that we need to reduce the sodium in the food. So we'll see what is the need to reduce it, and then we'll see if at all it is to be reduced, what are the challenges in reducing sodium in various foods. So if we see the sources of sodium in foods, so the message is majority of the sodium that we consume, it is through the salt which we intentionally added to the food. So very less of the sodium, or we can say a negligible amount of the sodium is consumed through natural sources. So whatever sodium we are consuming, it is actually being added by us only, and mostly again it is through the processed foods. We can see here the contribution of sodium by some of the common sodium containing additives, and the most common among these are sodium chloride and sodium lactate. So they contribute a maximum of sodium in the food. If we see the effect of sodium on our health, then this is the reason why we want to reduce sodium in the food. So excess sodium has been correlated with hypertension. So it is reported that it causes hypertension, and again through hypertension it causes various disabilities. It may lead to death also. It causes various health disparities, and also the cost attributable to the cardiovascular disease. So sodium, we can say it is a contributor to various problems, not only to the health but also because the cost involved in treating with these problems, it creates problems in the it creates various types of problems. So it is estimated that around 1.89 million deaths occurs each year, and these deaths are associated with consuming too much of the sodium. If we see the guidelines on sodium intake, then WHO recommends that an adult should consume not more than 87 millimole of sodium per day, and that is equivalent to less than 5 grams of NaCl, sodium chloride per day. But if we see the figures of how much sodium that we are consuming, so in the US, sodium consumption is at the is in the tune of 8.2 to 9.4 sodium chloride per day, while in UK it is 9.4, and in Asia, particularly in India, it is again very high. It is 12 grams of sodium per day. So we can say that these consumption levels of sodium are well in excess of what is optimally required for our health. And if we see a data in westernized countries, approximately 75% of the sodium in the diet comes from the processed foods and the foods eaten away from home. So the sodium which we are adding in our home preparations, that is not a major contributor, but the major contributor is the processed foods that we consume outside our home. um, Again, there is some data which emphasize the need of reduction of sodium. Like the global mean intake of adults is around 4310 milligram of sodium per day, which is equivalent to almost 11 grams of sodium chloride per day. And this is more than the double of what WHO recommends. So it recommends only less than 5 grams of sodium per day, and we are consuming approximately 11 grams. So this is more than double, and this is what is a major, we can say that a matter of concern. And for this, processed food is the dominant source of salt, and the rising trend in consumption of processed food in India has led to 24 to 30% prevalence of hypertension in the urban areas, and it is less in the rural areas to the tune of 12 to 14%. This list is showing the sodium content of various products, and we can see here that cheese, it is very high in sodium. And if we talk about processed cheese, further it doubles because of the addition of emulsifying salts. And these emulsifying salts are again most of these emulsifying salts are sodium-based salts. So which is the most prevalent, or we can say most widely consumed cheese in India. The attention, we have to be very careful in consuming this processed cheese. Now coming on to the roles of sodium in food. So sodium in food is added intentionally because it has an impact on various attributes of the foods, particularly the taste. So we add sodium chloride in food to enhance the taste of the product. It also contributes to the safety of the food because the sodium chloride is considered as antibacterial, and because of its effect on the microorganisms, it has a shelf life. We can say it can be used as a preservative in various foods, and it also affects texture of the food. So it has some advantages in foods also, like to modulate the taste, to have a safety aspect in the product, or to modulate the texture of the food. It is sometimes very essential in foods. Uh, to see the effect of sodium chloride on taste, we'll see like salt imparts more than just a salty taste to the overall food flavor. So it is reported that saltiness alters our perception of other taste also. So for example, salt can mask the bitterness. So if a food is salty and there are some bitter compounds in the food, we will not perceive that bitterness. And the similar way, salt can enhance the sweetness also. So if we are consuming a sweet product and there is very slight salt present in the food, we'll perceive more sweetness in that particular product. It also masks metallic or chemical off notes and round out the overall flavor while improving flavor intensity. So we can say that it just not only provides salty taste to the foods, but it also contributes to the overall flavor profile of the food. And there is a report that it also improves the perception of product thickness. So it has various roles in foods. So this can be better understood through this figure. We can see here this bold line is of the product with 0.3% salt, and then this dashed line is with the product with potassium glutamate, and the light colored the gray line is with nothing added. So we can see here, if nothing is added, this is the profile of the food. While addition of salt, this is the profile that we got after addition of salt. So saltiness is increasing obviously, but along with increase in the saltiness, we can see that there is increase in the thickness also, there is increase in the fullness of the product also, there is increase in the overall balance of the product. So we can see here, it is very clear that salt, addition of salt to food not only increases the saltiness in the product, but it contributes towards the overall perception of the food. So it contributes positively towards the overall perception of the food. And that is a thing which is very difficult to get in low sodium products. So that is the challenge with reducing sodium in foods. One more example is here. We can see here, these two particular graphs are for sweetness and bitterness profile of a product, where it is of a solution, not a product, but it is a mixture of 0.5 mole of sucrose and 1 molar of urea. So there is a certain bitter and sweet perception. With the addition of sodium salt, we can see here the sweet perception is increased while the bitter perception is significantly reduced. So just by introduction of salt in the product, there is significant increase in the sweetness of the solution, while significant decrease was observed in the bitterness of the product. So again, there is interaction between the various taste perceptions. Again, here we can see that this is the profile with flavor attributes with normal sodium content, and this is the attribute with the reduced sodium content. So obviously the saltiness is reduced. At the same time, you can see here the sweet perception is also reduced, the bitter perception is increased, and appetitive aromas are decreased, and aversive aromas are increased. So overall, the reduction of sodium in food, uh, it it increases the we can say aversive aspect of the overall flavor profile of the food. So this is the challenge with reducing sodium in any food. Coming on to the role of salt in cheese, or role of sodium chloride in cheese. When we add sodium chloride in cheese, it reduces water activity, and by reducing water activity, it impacts the microbial growth of the microbial growth in the cheese, and thereby this is how it has a role in preservation and safety of the product. It impacts the hydration of the protein, it impacts enzyme activity throughout the ripening process, and thus it impacts the flavor and aroma that is generated in the cheese, and also the body and texture of the cheese through its effect on protein hydration. And we can see here the overall cheese quality is highly we can say dependent on the amount of sodium chloride which we add in the cheese. So overall cheese quality is highly impacted by varying the amount of sodium chloride in cheese. So the normal sodium chloride in cheese, it is better represented always in terms of salty moisture content, and it is between 3 and 6. If it is between if it is less than 3 and higher than 6, the cheese will deteriorate very rapidly, while the suggested salt in moisture content in cheese is in the range of 4.5 to 5.5. So this will give you the highest quality cheese. And low salt cheeses, these there are problems associated with low salt cheese, like there will be acid flavor in the low sodium cheeses, and it will be bitter. And there are some textural defects also, like the cheese will be soft, weak, and the body of the cheese will be pasty. So there are various strategies to reduce sodium in cheese. We'll see these strategies one by one, like sodium reduction of salt over a period of time. So that is commonly called as reduction by stealth. Uh, we can uh, we can also try to encapsulate salt in emulsions.
Hello, hello, Sonu ma'am.
Actually, he is facing some technical issues. The network issues is there.
Okay,
He will join this
okay,
soon.
okay. All right.
Participants, please be with us as there is some technical issues. So our expert is facing right now. Our expert will return shortly. Please be with us.
Hello. Sonam, am I audible now?
Yes, yes, sir, you are audible.
So I'm sorry for the inconvenience. There was
No
some power
issue, sir.
failure at
Fine.
India.
No issues, sir. No issues.
So I will present it now. Yeah.
Yeah, sure, please.
It's visible.
It's coming now, sir. Start the slideshow. Okay, sir, please start.
Yeah. So I think you last heard me at this slide.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
So this is a list of the strategies which we can use to reduce sodium in various foods. So reduction by stealth is the first, and this then we'll discuss one by one each of these. So reduction by stealth is a we can say it is a process involving the gradual stepwise reduction of salt in the foods over an extended period of time. So like it is a very small reduction in amount of salt over a very long period of time. So that enables the consumers not to detect any changes to the organoleptic qualities of the product. So that is how we can reduce sodium in some of the products, and reducing the salt content and the consumer sensitivity to the saltiness of a product. And there was a particular study on sliced white bread which depicted a 1/4 reduction of the sodium content over a 6 week period. So, like in the duration of 6 weeks, there was a total 25% reduction in the sodium, and participants were either subjected to loaves of bread in which the sodium was reduced by 5% per weeks, or the loaves of bread containing the same sodium content over the 6 week period. So finally, the product which was subjected to reduction of sodium over an extended period of time, it was at the end of the period, it was the consumers were not able to identify the difference between the saltiness. So it can be said that if we reduce sodium content in any product uh, over a extended period of time, the changes in the salt perception will not be much, and consumers will not consider that product as less salty. There is another technique of reducing sodium, which is the reducing salt, which is using salt substitutes in the food, and potassium chloride is the most popular substitute, which is used for as a replacement of sodium chloride. It has also equivalent antimicrobial effect on typical pathogenic bacterial species, so it provides food safety also. But the problem associated with this potassium chloride is its pronounced bitterness, chemical and metallic taste, and aftertaste. So these are the problems which limits the use of potassium chloride. But again, if we try to mask the undesirable sensory attributes, then this potassium chloride can be a very good source of salt replacers. And there are various, we can say, uh, masking agents available which will mask that particular uh, flavor in the product. Like if we want to mask bitterness and to enhance the flavor, we can use some taste enhancers like yeast extract, monosodium glutamate. However, this monosodium glutamate is not very good choice if we see the health aspects of this. And there are some hydrolyzed vegetable proteins also, so these can be used as flavor enhancers. So potassium chloride along with some flavor enhancers, they can result into a very good product. So they are added to enhance the flavor, thereby they compensate for the reduction in the sodium and the umami effect which is delivered from these ingredients. So this enhancement is particularly because of the uh, contribution of umami flavor, or we can say umami taste to the product. So by delivering this umami effect, uh, they increases the perceived salty taste without the higher sodium content. So these can be exploited in low sodium foods. Then there is very interesting phenomena which is called as odor taste interaction. So we can say that there is always an interaction between the odor and the taste. We have seen some odor taste interaction in the previous examples also, where just in adding the salt, there was a complete change in the flavor profile of the product. So it has been demonstrated that taste can increase odor intensity, and conversely the perception of taste can be enhanced by odor. So there is always an interaction between the odor and the taste, and if we increase odor in the food, the taste perception can also be increased. So similar concept was can be exploited in reduction of salt also. So few studies reported the enhancement of saltiness by odor, and we can say that this Lawrence and co-workers, they initially tried to experiment on this particular phenomena, and for this experiment they used various salt associated order, like this is the complete list of the salt associated order. And there are some orders which are not associated with salt also, like carrot. So this is not a salt associated order. So the results were in line with like the salt associated orders were able to enhance the saltiness to a greater extent, while some orders which were not associated with the salt, they had the negative effects. We will see it through graphs. Like so, we can see here that this is the saltiness intensity of the orders that were used in this particular experiment. So these are the various orders used, and they have their particular saltiness intensity. This was the saltiness intensity with salt added in the along with these orders. So like these two, the values obtained by these two were used to calculate OISE. OISE is order induced saltiness enhancement, and we can see here that various orders were able to enhance saltiness to different extents, and the carrot order, which was not actually associated with saltiness, so it resulted in decrease in the saltiness enhancement, or we can say it negatively impacted the saltiness. So we can see various orders can im- enhance the saltiness of the solution. So they have the capacity or capability to enhance the saltiness of that particular solution without any change in the salt amount of the salt. So we can say salt associated orders induce saltiness enhancement, and orders which are not associated with the salt could induce saltiness reduction. So as we have seen with the in the case of carrot. So this is how these orders can contribute towards saltiness enhancement. This is one more particular experiment with this uh, saltiness enhancement effect due to odor. So in this particular experiment, lipoprotein matrices were used as solid food. So the previous study that I mentioned was in the solution, but this study was attempted in a model food, and the food matrix that was taken was close to mozzarella cheese. And we can see here the lipoprotein matrices recipes included anhydrous milk fat, milk protein powder, sodium chloride, rennet. So they tried to create a model cheese, and then they tried to see the effect in the model cheese. The salt level was fixed at 0.5%. So all these three had similar salt content. So we can see here like the OISE, which is the saltiness enhancement effect. It is there is some saltiness enhancement in the Comté cheese flavor, while sardine cheese flavor was giving higher saltiness enhancement, and the carrot was again it was giving the negative result. So we can see that if we try this kind of concept in real food, we can it can be really successful in reducing sodium content in the final product. So this is again one experiment where sardine flavor was used as a order to increase saltiness, and this was done with various salt levels. So uh, 0.01 mole of salt, 0.02, and 0.04. A very interesting result was found in this particular study. We can see here the saltiness enhancement of because of the sardine, it was highest at lowest salt content. So we can see if the salt content is less in the food, the effect which is there because of the salty order, it will be higher. So this particular concept can be very well used in low sodium foods, where we intentionally keep the sodium levels to a less amount, and then if we add these kind of salty flavors, salty orders, we can achieve higher we can say higher saltiness enhancement. This particular study was done in our own lab at NDRI, and this in this study, what we did, we used various salt like KCl, various sources of KCl as salt replacer. So this Saloni and Saloni K, they were the commercial salt preparations of KCl, and we also used the KCl as an ingredient. So this Saloni and Saloni K were actually prepared from some sea plant in the sea source, and then the KCl was extracted from that source, and these ingredients were manufactured. And this KCl is what we have in the market. So we use three different KCl, and then we use three different flavor enhancers. So this HVP is hydrolyzed vegetable protein, Y is yeast extract, and IMP is inosine monophosphate. So these three ingredients were used for, we can say, for flavor enhancement. And along with this, we used three amino acids. So lysine, not essentially amino acids, but we can categorize them as bitter blockers. So lysine and adenosine monophosphate and glycine. So these three were used as bitter blockers, or we can say to mask the bitterness of the KCl. So all the combinations were subjected to and to evaluate the saltiness. I think someone's mic is on.
Now it's off, sir. Please.
Okay. So so we used all these ingredients in combination, and we analyzed the solution for its saltiness. We obtained highest saltiness intensity, where in the case of like Saloni K is the source of KCl, hydrolyzed vegetable protein as the flavor enhancers, and adenosine monophosphate uh, as the beta blocker. So this particular combination provided the best saltiness intensity, while it was significantly different with the other combinations. And at the of the same combination, if we see the bitterness intensity, again of the same combination like Saloni K, HVP, and AMP, it was giving the least bitterness. So saltiness was highest at this in this particular combination, and bitterness was lowest and in this particular combination. And both of these are can be useful in reducing sodium in any food. So we later on tried it in the cheese, but this up to this it was in the solution only. So finally, we tried this particular combination in various, it was compared with NaCl. We had one simple solution of Saloni K, and a solution with Saloni K and HVP, and finally a solution with Saloni K, HVP, and AMP. So like our results were validated. So we had highest saltiness intensity where we had all the three combinations, while flavor enhancers were obviously it was able to increase the saltiness, but the saltiness enhancement in the combination of all was maximum, and similarly it was least bitterness. This particular combination was the least bitterness. And if we calculate the test induced, this particular combination, we gave it the name of taste induced saltiness enhancement, because there was induction, like we did not use any order. It was actually a taste compound. For HVP, we used it is flavor enhancer. So we rather than order induced saltiness enhancement, we termed it as taste induced saltiness enhancement. So this particular combination again gave us a taste induced saltiness enhancement of 3.23. So this was validated to be used in cheese later on. And then this particular combination we used in cheese in preparation of cheddar cheese. And we can see here we tried to replace sodium chloride to up to 75%. We can see here it was varied from 25 to 75. And HVP, again, we varied it from 0.2% to 1%, and AMP from 100 ppm to 300 ppm. So we had various different results using this combination. So we can see here there was not much effect on the flavor with increasing sodium content, with increasing replacement of sodium content. So even at 75% replacement of sodium chloride, the flavor was not affected much. And this HVP was particularly effective at lower concentration. At higher concentration, it was negatively impacting the flavor. Similarly, with AMP, as we go on increasing the amount of AMP, we had higher flavor scores, while there was no, we can say the HVP, there was no effect of the combination of HVP and we can say AMP in this particular case. So we also evaluated the product for body and texture, and we can see here with increasing replacement of sodium, body and texture was negatively impacted, and this is something which still needs to be addressed. So as we have seen in the previous slide that higher saltiness or higher salt replacement in cheddar cheese may lead to formation of pasty body, and that is what we that is the result we got in our products also. It was slightly pasty at the end of the ripening. So that is something which we still which still can be worked on. So we can see here again the same concept, like with increasing uh, the amount of salt replacement, the hardness of the cheese was decreasing. So hardness of the cheese was decreasing means the cheese was becoming soft and pasty at the end of the ripening, while there was no effect on hardness of cheddar cheese on effect of HVP and HVP on the hardness of the cheddar cheese, and there was no effect of AMP on hardness of the cheddar cheese. So if we finally see the desirability values, so we had good desirability in all the aspects other than body and texture. So body and texture is negatively impacted by replacing this NaCl with KCl, and the inclusion of some flavor did not impacted the body and texture much. So this was all about the approach of odor induced saltiness enhancement, or we can say the taste induced saltiness enhancement. There's again one more approach which can be successfully used to reduce sodium in foods, which is using double emulsion. So WOW emulsions can be used, and the salt can be we can say emulsify in the innermost part where if we so this approach particularly there is a concept like pulse delivery of the salt. So this particular phenomena will create a pulse delivery of salt, and this pulse delivery of salt can be useful in reducing sodium in various foods. So even at lower concentration of the salt, if we are giving a pulse delivery, it can give more saltiness. We'll see the example. It will be more clear. So again, the same concept is the changing the food matrix to give a pulse delivery. So continuous delivery of salt from food can lead to gradual decline of the taste sensitivity, and for this pulse delivery can be used, and this pulse delivery can alter taste sensitivity and increase the perception of salt even if the salt level has been decreased. So what I mean to say is, even at lower salt content, if the delivery is pulse delivery, then we can have higher saltiness in the product. Similar, like to prove this phenomena, experiment was done for bread. So there was like it will be more clear to this example. So this particular pink portion, it is having different salt content, while the white portion is having different salt content. So that is what that is what is meant by pulse delivery. So when we consume this product, it will give not the uniform delivery of the salt, but it will be a pulse delivery. So uh, so you can see in this graph, so 1:1 is with the product with uniformly distribution of salt, while this 1:9, 1:12, 1:11, these are the products with pulse delivery of the salt. So we can see here, with increasing the contrast ratio, like when it is 1:9, 1:12, and 1:11, the saltiness score is increasing. So you can see the saltiness score is here. It is it is higher than this one. It is this one is higher than this one, and all the products with with a pulse delivery, or we can say with a distribution of salt, are more saltier. So you, like this 1% salt. Here the two breads are equally, like the total NaCl content in the two bread is 1%. But in this case, it is pulse delivery, it is the normal delivery. So the product with pulse delivery is more salty than the normal one. So the overall effect we can see here, if we have 2% salt in the bread, which is uniformly distributed, we can reduce it to 1.73% salt. With pulse delivery, it is higher, it is having more salty. Like it is perceived as more salty. So this particular phenomena can be very well used in various foods. So our purpose is to give the salt in a pulsed form rather than having a uniform distribution of the salt. Another approach for enhancing saltiness is to adjust the salt crystal size. So, like if we can decrease the salt crystal size, it will have more saltiness. But this particular effect can only be achieved in dry foods where salt is sprinkled on the surface of the fruit. Say, for example, in kurkure type of products. So, if we can reduce the size of the salt, we can have more saltiness in the product. So we can see here, if it is micro-sized fine salt, the perception of saltiness intensity is maximum in this particular case. So again, this type of, like as I said, this can be exploited in food items where dry salt is used. So this we cannot use where the salt is present in solutions, but yes, it can be used where it is in dry form. So finally, to conclude, we can say that sodium is being consumed in excess of the recommended intake throughout the world. So not only in India, the whole world is consuming much higher amount of sodium, which is than the recommended levels of sodium. And this high sodium is associated with many health problems, starting with hypertension, and then it leads to several other diseases also. Reducing sodium in food is a challenge as it affects flavor, texture, and microbial safety of the food. So we cannot as such reduce sodium in the food because it is associated with various organoleptic quality of the food and also with the safety of the food. So we can use various approaches which we discussed in today's session. So current research in reducing sodium in foods include like double emulsion. We have seen the uh, seen an approach of double emulsion system. We have seen approach of odor induced saltiness enhancement, how it reduces, how it is successful in reducing sodium in food. We have also seen how we can change the matrix and provide a pulse delivery of the salt. Using salt substitute of plant origin is also one of the approaches which we have not discussed much, but it can be used, and more research needs to be carried out to ensure that these techniques have the potential to be applied to a range of different products. So there are some emerging techniques which are still in the which are still at the research level and needs to be transferred to transfer at the commercial level to be really applicable in the food. Thank you.
Participants, if you have any query, please ask.
Hello.
Yes, please.
Sir, in last slide, you have touched to one subject that is plant or tree originated salts. Have you know any example there?
Which one?
Plant originated or you at last in last slide,
Yeah,
just you
yeah.
have
So,
discussed about
so actually,
salt.
there are, as I said in the work which I presented, like the salts obtained from plant origin, the Saloni and Salonike, these the KCl in that particular source was obtained from some of the plants which are from the sea source. So, like there are various we can say extracts that can be obtained from various plants, and these extracts can be used as a replacement of sodium chloride.
But as you discussed today, as well as I think this discussion was held in the cheese technology presentation class.
Mhm.
So due to use of that KCl, the bitterness is affected.
Yes, yes.
That is the problem. But
So
it is
bitterness is
really
a problem.
good research, and that is the need of present, sir.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So what I said is bitterness is there in the products where NaCl is replaced with KCl. But what we did, we tried to reduce that bitterness only. So we used various flavor enhancers for that purpose, and we were quite successful in that approach. But body and texture still remains a problem.
But definitely, when you think about the dairy products, cheese is at topmost level where the
Right,
salt is used on large scale.
right.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much.
Any other query, participants? I think there is no question anymore, sir. Thank you very much, sir, for sharing your knowledge with us and joining us today. Thank you very much. On the behalf of organizing team SGIDT Patna and NADCL Baramulla Jammu and Kashmir, I express a heartfelt gratitude for accepting our invitation for delivering the lecture in this 21-day summer school. And once again, thank you very much all participants for sincerely listening to the lecture and actively engaged throughout the session and asking questions wherever you need. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank, thank you, participants. You may leave now.
ये